Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be round two. This is where I actually play against my friend, which in an event like this, I don't really mind playing against my friend that much. I mean, I hate that one of us is going to have to lose, um, but that's part of why I like to play these events with friends. Is that you get to play with your friend, and one of you is going to win. Generally, what I would do is if I really kick my friend's butt, and then I end up placing really high, is I'll split some of the packs with them, just especially if they don't place. I mean, it's just a nice thing to do, really. Um, now, you want to be very careful with that. You don't want to be in events and practice tournament collusion, because that's definitely not a good thing to do. But but it's a nice thing to do to keep your friends playing with you, especially if you're going to run the risk of beating them in such a way that they're going to really hate your guts. I think we have a couple of really good games here, so we're going to include them, and we're going to see what he built. I think he ended up getting. I wouldn't say a weaker pool. I mean, I think any pool has the potential to be strong, but he didn't have some of the bombs that I had, like Olivia, and the combination of Olivia and the Bloodline Keeper really is a tough one, because most people will be able to deal with one of those threats in this block, but dealing with both of them simultaneously is going to prove very difficult for most of the people that I play. So here we are. What do I have? I've got my early game werewolf, and I've got tribute to hunger. So more than likely, the first threat my opponent has is going to go to that tribute to hunger. Okay, I might burn that tribute to hunger a little quickly. I might kill something that's not that impressive, but if I do, you can bet that more than likely I'm going to be doing it to get in there and get a couple swings in with Iron Fang. So he's playing green, I believe green white. So a human build, probably with some wolves, probably with some werewolves, and of course some spirits. Here we go. We've got our Ironsmith. We drew some things that are interesting. We've got the one-eyed scarecrow. Doubt with this color assortment that I'm gonna see much use there, but I do remember now that my friend did have to splash blue for a couple of flying cards and a couple of flashback cards that were pretty useful for him. So Scarecrow here is actually going to be a really good card for me against this particular opponent. Scarecrow, even without the negative to flying creatures, is decent, because it's a 2/3, and a 3-drop at 2/3. A lot of 3-drops are going to be 2/2. Notice I got to flip my Iron Fang. He didn't have anything to do, so my 2 Cast and Cast creatures now swinging for 3 every turn, and now I've got a perfect backup to that. I've got 2 creatures with first strike on the table, so if he does play something that's offensive, I just stay home behind a wall of first strike. But more than likely, at this point, for the 3 or 4 mana, he's not going to play something. I mean, I would only stay home if he had a 5/1 or a 4 something, possibly a 3/3. But more than likely, it's going to be better for me to go ahead and swing and get that 6 damage. 6 is just under a third of their life total, and with my kind of build, that's a very good thing, a good place for me to stay at. Now I could tribute to hunger here, and probably that may have been the best play to make, but I choose instead to put something else on the board. I should have attacked with Iron Fang there. I didn't, probably because I was too busy talking to him. Yeah, I for some reason I was thinking that when one of my guys dies, that guy flips. Always good to read the cards again. Uh, Still, even if I was worried of losing my wolf, worried about losing my wolf, I should have at least swung with Iron Fang there. He plays the spotter. This is a good card, but it's a ridiculous card when you've got the morbid set up. I really do think that it was probably the best thing for him to do to play that. And here I'm gonna go against one of my rules, I believe, if I remember correctly. No, I went ahead and played the air. Yeah, I guess I figured I wasn't in a hurry at this point. Uh, since he's got a spider that can handle my guys, I stay at home behind a wall of first strike. If he attacks me, sure, he's going to end up getting to flip his Thraben Sentry, but if his Thraben Sentry is the only creature he has on the board, then I'm going to get more life from Tribute to Hunger. So I like this position here. The only thing I don't like about it is that he's got a pretty high mana total, and if he does have some crazy bombs, then then I could be really regretting my play decisions. But here I'll block with lots of first strike, and I really don't know. There are some cards that would have been very good for him here. I put the Scarecrow on just in case. He can't. The only thing he can actually kill here is the air. If he had some sort of growth effect, then he stands a good chance of getting one of my other guys. But I figured that he just didn't. He wouldn't have anything there that could do that. The sole purpose for his attack was to flip the militia and possibly get a morbid activation, which that's I think the real motive here is he knows he's got Woodland Sleuth, he's going to get his spider back, and so ultimately he gained in that scenario. He lost a blocker, but he gained a really strong creature, and this is what I want right here. I've got my Bloodline Keeper, but let's see what I do. I go ahead and send in the guys, and what was my motive here? I don't remember what my motive was exactly. Oh, but I had the option to play the Reaper. If I lost one of my guys here, I could play the Reaper and then guarantee that one of his dudes was going to die, and then I could follow up by tributing to Hunger. Yeah, I would end up losing a lot of my guys because of the Reaper from the Abyss, but at that point, if I made it to where my Reaper was the only creature on the table, then I stood a pretty good chance of him not winning, even if I just kept something like Bloodline Keeper on the reserve. So he's thinking here. He doesn't know what I'm doing, because in any other set, this would be like a really bad play. And here he sort of fell for it. He allows me to kill his Sleuth. Oh, what did he have? Oh yeah, he had the Moment of Heroism. So that that's the other possible thing that's good for me here is I'm drawing him out, and so I respond by making him sack something. He has the choice now of sacking something he really wants to keep, which is the militia, or something that could kill my guy. If he sacks the Sleuth, then he loses the heroism, he loses that lifelink, and he doesn't kill my Kessig Wolf. So I know when I play Tribute to Hunger that he's probably going to give up his militia. I could be wrong here. I don't remember exactly how this went down, but this was a way for me to force him giving up something that was going to provide him a good advantage. Either he's going to lose this great trample guy that's also a great blocker in this scenario, or he's going to lose the Sleuth, which is going to kill one of my guys. And he chooses to keep the Sleuth. It was a rough decision for him. I don't know whether I would have done the same thing in that scenario, but it happened nonetheless. He's got a Somberwalled Spider, but in order to make it really effective, somebody still has to die. But the Spider is a respectable card, even without Morbid being on it. It just gets better when Morbid is played on it. At this point, I'm happy with this board setup. I had to flip my Ironsmith here, but that's quite alright, because now it's going to be Bloodline Keeper time. Oh, I actually played... No, I considered playing the voice from the Reaper from the Abyss, but then I realized that Bloodline Keeper was really the better thing to do here. I can sit. At this table, I'm not dying. I can wait. So I'm going to wait this game out. I'm going to be very careful not to attack with a Bloodline Keeper, because White has plenty of tools to deal with a flyer. The things I'm worried about at this point are things like Prey Upon and Spidery Grasp is another one. Even this Pilgrim with Spidery Grasp can kill the Bloodline Keeper if I attack with it. So even though flying is an evasion ability, allows you to get in when you're not expected, the best thing to do with a Bloodline Keeper always is make lots of little flyers. Anytime you can make lots of dudes, I'm almost 100% going to say that's really the best thing you can do. There are going to be a few times where that would probably be dumb, but like if your opponent were at 3 life, then you don't need to waste time making lots of dudes. He's got Kessig Cage Breakers, a great reason for him to be running green. This is a neat guy. I don't know if he's a high pick in draft, but he's great in sealed. I will take him almost any time I've got him. And now we've got the other piece for our vampire setup. Brilliant thing about Olivia is that she turns either your own guys into vampires, if you need more vampires, or she turns the opponent's guys into vampires so that you can steal them. So in this scenario, when I've got the Bloodline Keeper, I'm now getting to the point to where I can generate 1 to 3 vampires per turn, and I've already got 3. So the next turn I can flip Bloodline Keeper and get my big beastie vampire lord, Keeper of Lineage. So again, I have no hurry. I can sit around. I'm not going to attack with my 4/4 flyer, even though it's probably not going to die, because I don't want to leave it vulnerable to something like Rebuke that's just going to get rid of it. Now, and here's where knowing the set really comes into play. I mean, if I was going into this block with no awareness of the spoiler or any of the cards that are out there, I would make some really reckless play decisions. Not to say that I'm not going to make some really reckless play decisions anyway, but I'm going to minimize the ones that I make because I'm not going to walk into something like Rebuke. Another thing to be worried about is something like in Somblock. If your opponent has 5 mana open and one of them's an island, you know that he's probably got a Spire Monitor. So here, I was thinking about damaging that Pilgrim and just killing it, but I want to take this Cage Breaker from him because that is a guy that has the potential to allow him to win. Now I'm going to block with the Ironsmith here. I lose nothing in this, or did I? Oh, I decided. Yeah, I decided to go ahead and kill it. His motivation for attacking with the Pilgrim is that he's probably got another card with Morbid. But I'm fine with that at this point, because if he makes a spider, like he's going to, then I could Olivia Voldaren it and steal it next turn. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that for me. So I have just a world of options here. And here I think I just decided to steal the Cage Breaker, which actually I think was probably the wrong thing to do. I probably should have just taken that spider. But I was worried that he might do something. And I was eager to get transformed. Because now each of these little 2/2s is insane. Now I'm still not going to attack with the Lord of the Lineage. I would still much rather make another 4/4 vampire token. And I'm still not going to attack with Olivia Voldaren. I probably... I could have, but I would have given up 1 to the spider. And I would have won the game. Now, if this is a completely different scenario where he has no cards in hand, or he's tapped out, and all he's got is this spider to block, then I would consider going all out and sending everybody in. But I'm not at that point yet. I'm not winning this game until I get rid of that reach blocker. And the next turn here, I should have the capability to be able to do that by swiping the spider. Now he has no blockers. He still has the potential for some sort of trickery, so it's still not a good idea to attack with the Lord of Lineage, but it's pretty much a good idea to attack with everybody else. I could lose Olivia, and that could actually affect the game really negatively, but at this point I've got so many guys going that I think that it's a safe bet. Plus, I got greedy. I thought about rakish air there and really wanted to capitalize. So here he's got to surrender. And now we're looking at sideboarding after round one. I know I'm playing against a human deck, and that really doesn't mean I need to change much. So I don't. I probably again could have put in the sharpened pitchfork. Would have been a better inclusion over the butcher's cleaver. I mulled that hand, and this one is not fantastic. But I won't mull again unless my opponent mulls. I just, no matter what crap I have, if I have lands, then I have the potential to get to the table. And at the latest with this particular hand, I do have the scourge that will get onto the table because it's very unlikely that I'll go for 4 turns without drawing a land. More than likely, I'll draw something like an Iron Fang, or here, this is a good one, Tribute to Hunger. Let's say he does have a good early game bruiser. Next turn, I'm going to Tribute to Hunger and get rid of it. So we'll just Jizzlebrand. No reason not to equip the torch. Likelihood of him removing this guy this early is very slim, and all I'm really losing there is the potential to sack it to itself and gain 1 life. By tapping out, that is. But my guess is, since most of his deck is white focused, he's actually sort of in a situation where he probably would have been better off mulling himself. I mean, this is amazing. I had a crab hand, and here I am doing piddly damage with the Disciple. May as well get all the damage I can take with him. On the off chance that he does get an early game flyer, it's going to be weaker because of the Scarecrow, and that's all going to be in the interest of buying me time. And I'm talking with him about why he's even running that Pilgrim. I like the Pilgrim and everything, but the main reason I would play him in a deck that's 3 colors like this is if I had a lot of double white casting costs. And I think we were talking earlier about him not having a particularly large amount of double white casting costs and not really having a lot of expensive bombs. But ultimately, the fact that it's a human, to me, made it worthwhile to keep that guy in the deck. I mean, especially when he's got a lot of morbid triggers. Anytime you can throw a Pilgrim into the fray just to be a morbid trigger is actually all right. Because those spiders are really solid. Having 2 of those means that if he had something that could break that long game. See, that's the thing. He's got really good stuff with this deck as far as getting to the long game. But once he's in it, he doesn't really have a way to punch through. That I saw, anyway. And here I'm wondering, am I going to play the Scourge? Right now I'm thinking that there's no reason not to. I mean, it's a 3/3, and at this point my turn clock for killing my opponent is really long. So I'm going to go ahead and put out the other dude. And he's a dude that he's going to get bigger if my opponent plays anything. And right now, more than anything, my opponent wants to play creatures. So I can guarantee that guy's going to be getting bigger. And if he burns removal on it, then I'm not really in bad shape. Yeah, I think he's really hurting for planes here. He actually had to get rid of a card. And earlier he got rid of a flyer, a Moon Heron, that he could cast. I don't know. He made a mistake there, I think. I don't know what he was doing. and that's a fantastic blocker. Um, Make sure to really read this card well, though. I believe we'll see him make a mistake with it that's very costly later. Um, Now, this is one time where Tribute to Hunger is really handy. Yeah, this guy may be indestructible, but indestructible does not protect against sacrifice. Sacrifice wipes things out. So that's why I got rid of that guy, because he stalled the game in a way that I did not want to have happen. Um, and this clearing him out of the way gained me a lot of life and allowed me to continue smacking. And now I've got two Ghost Flames in my hand. I'll hold on to these as long as possible because they are great ways for me to close this game. They are also great ways for me to unflip any werewolves that my opponent may put out. And here my friend's realizing that or he's telling me that Gargoyle really likes Prey Upon, and he does. An indestructible creature is a perfect choice for Prey Upon. There's no way you're going to be losing your Gargoyle in a fight between anything on the board. This guy I'm not really impressed with. 5 life is really good in this environment, but all of his other morbid guys are so much better than this guy. We have nothing to do here. We could attack, but since Geist Flame is an instant, I would much rather him attack me and try to draw something out of his hand. Because on the off chance that he does do something that pumps this guy when I block, I still have the avenue of sacrificing the Disciple if I need to. At this point, if he does pump his guy, I've got 2 extra points of damage, and I have the Blazing Torch. But I may decide to take the damage there. Yeah, I decided to go ahead and take that damage there because I'm so far ahead on the life race. And here's where he prey upon on me, and then that's where I respond with Geist Flame. So he's killing my guy, but I got his too, and we didn't even actually have to go into combat. But he's got Morbid, and that's part of the whole idea there is even if he loses his guy, he's going to get a nice big spider out of the deal. And at this point, he's looking a lot better on this board than I am. I could potentially kill this guy outright, sacking the torch and burning Geist Flame. I don't know if I actually get there without more damage. But it's something to be aware of. Yeah, I think I could get up to 4 or 5 damage at best. So I'm going to be taking a little bit of damage from this spider. But see, I can take a little bit of damage. As long as I have this Disciple out, I have the option to chump block and then sack and gain life. So not only am I able to prevent that damage that turn, but I'm actually able to gain a little bit of a footing back by using this Disciple's ability. I've got my bat now, and my options are leave it as a 2/2 flyer so that I can hopefully maybe get him to keep his spider at home, or flip it to a 5/5 beastie. And really, flipping it to a 5/5 beastie doesn't really appeal to me that much, but I think it's what I'm going to end up doing. Let's see what happens. It's really going to depend on what he does over there. He's got his cage breakers. It doesn't look good for me right now. He's got quite a full graveyard. Yeah, so I get my 5/5 beastie. It's a deterrent. It's a move to try and make sure that he's not going to send those cage breakers in. And this is where I know that he's pretty much pulling away. He's got Feeling of Dread. He's going to make sure that not only do I not have the ability to attack him, but I'm not going to have the ability to really mount up much of a defense. So I'll play my Fen Snake here, and this at least guarantees me a pretty good possibility of killing one of his attackers should they come. More than likely, the right guy to kill if he does attack is Cussed Cage Breakers. Um, this is a guy that gets exponentially more powerful when the graveyard is full of creatures. And nice play by him here. He now has a 5/6 Cussed Cage Breakers that's going to bring a lot of wolves along with him when he attacks. I do not at this point have a way to deal with that flying. I believe that these enchantments are more impressive than they have been in the past. There's still the possibility of getting 2-for-1, but when you've got creatures like Cage Breakers out there, their potential far outweighs the loss. I mean, even if he had put this on the spider here, he's got a 6/8 then that can handle anything I could throw at it. I'm taking a lot of damage. I'm taking, well, that's lethal right there. So I really had to block a wolf with my fence snake, but at this point I know that there's not really a chance. One of the mistakes that I probably made here was in fully tapping out. I could have sacrificed something to at least stay on the table. But I don't know. I was losing that game. So here we go. We're going to stop this here, take a break. Okay, welcome back. This is Futant again with a Innistrad release sealed. So I'm making the changes to my deck here. My opponent's not playing vampires or zombies, so I'm considering here removing the Blazing Torch. And here's where I'm realizing that the Pitchfork is really just a better card than the Cleaver. I don't know if I actually take the Cleaver out here. I do like the Skeletal Grimace. For all of his ground beaters, this is a great card for me to have. If I had Grimace on something like a Gizzlebrand, then I can block those Somber World spiders without fear of getting smashed. Plus, it's a good answer card for Prey Upon. I can stick that on something and just make sure that I'm not going to be a target of something like that. And what other changes? We didn't make any other changes. We did actually keep our Butcher's Cleaver, so went up to 41 cards, which is not bad. Here, this is not a phenomenal hand. I don't really care for the Screeching Bat. I mean, I'm running it solely because it's a vampire, but I can get onto the table, and I can also deal with an early game threat should I need to. And now I know that my opponent, even though I'm not overwhelmingly impressed with the deck that he got just through luck, it's a deck that does have the capability of winning. So I've got to be careful, because I didn't make any huge mistakes that second game, and yet I still got kind of owned. The only thing I can really think of about that second game is I probably should have sacked the torch and then really burned some Geist Flames to try and get rid of that Cussed Cage Breakers, because that guy, there was every reason to believe that guy was going to attack and dominate me. Now, the thing that I missed was that it getting flying is really what made it able to stay alive and completely destroy me. But even without that, it stood a pretty good chance of doing some good for my opponent. And here we'll just we'll equip the Pitchfork because it turns the Disciple of Gizzlebrand into a 2/2 for a striker. I get an extra point of damage that way. I don't choose to put out the Patrician because I tend to think that those lifelink guys are more for the late game. And you can argue with me on that play. I mean, developing the board is really important. So playing the Bat or the Patrician may have been the better move there, because I can play that Pitchfork at any point. But I didn't see that I was in a particularly huge hurry. Go ahead and attack first, just for the heck of it. And here I think I choose to put out the Fen Snake, I believe. Yeah. Maximize my damage output. If my opponent can't play anything, this is a guy that's really a huge threat. And if I put Grimace on it, it becomes even worse. Because it's a guaranteed guy he's going to have to chump to every turn. And then I've got all this other stuff in my hand as a resource should I get to a game situation where I'm really scared. And fantastic guy for him. He's killing my Fen Snake just by playing a guy. So huge advantage for him. He's got a dude on the table now. And he killed my big beastie that was supposed to scare him to death. No reason why I can't attack here. At this point I'm ahead on damage. I could quickly fall behind, but I'm far enough ahead that I can realistically expect that it's perfectly fine for me to take some damage. Plus I have the option here of trading. Do I play Skeletal Grimace now? I'm considering it. But instead I decided to just move my Pitchfork over. 3-1 first strike lifelink. This just prevents me from taking any damage. Now I did the wrong mana there. I should have done the black mana so I'd have Geist Flame open. Should he make this guy, bigger, then being able to respond with a Geist Flame on that first strike block is a pretty important thing to be able to do. And I know he's got some sort of trick to be able to reuse this guy. We saw that he had the, what is it, Woodland Sleuth, I believe. So we know he has ways to double his usage of that Slayer of the Wicked. I'm really glad he didn't get that guy earlier in the first game against me. And this is where his deck really shines for me. And this sucks. This is a perfect example of why I should have kept the red mana open. I could have gained more life if I let the Patrician do his damage. So I don't know why I did that. Definitely a goof on my part. There's really no reason to sacrifice him there. I get so used to thinking, oh, you should do this whenever somebody targets your stuff. And it's not always the right thing to do. So definitely a mistake made by me there. Two mistakes really: not keeping that red mana open so I could respond with Ghost Flame, because then at least it would have been a trade. And then sacking my guy when I could have gained a lot more life. Now I've got a guy in my graveyard and I've got Corpse Lunge, but let's face it here, who do I really want to kill? I mean, with the Fen Snake I can kill anything. So we'll equip our Pitchfork. Gives me the 2/2 first strike. At least then, with that scenario, I know that I can block however I want. And we'll go ahead and play our bat. Now I properly leave this one mountain open. We don't want to get surprised by any more prey pawns. And more than likely here, I'm going to want to keep my bat as a flyer until I see a spider or something to deal with flying. This is a way for me to get in 2 more damage per turn. So, the longer I hold on to these Geist Flames, it's a really good thing, because there is that possibility that I'm going to get my opponent down to single digits and need Geist Flame to close out the game. And here I'm talking again about how I don't really care for Screeching Bat. If this was the only vampire in my pool, then I would not be looking at playing vampires. But the fact that I've got the other stuff makes him alright. I mean, as a 2/2 flyer, he's fine. As a 5/5, he's kind of underwhelming. A 5/5 ground guy that, just sits on the table is not really as good as a 2/2 flyer, unless you're in a very specific situation. Fantastic card in his deck here, Travel Preparations. One of the best and most surprising things about his deck is that he has really good flashback cards to pair with, moderately good creatures, some really good morbid guys. And seeing this makes me very surprised that I was able to win so well. I mean, it more really makes me think that I just got kind of lucky, that he just didn't draw out the right way. We'll go ahead and attack with our flyer. We're not really afraid of anything at instant speed against my flyer. I'm not aware of anything yet. At some point I may become aware of something, but I had every reason to believe I'd be getting that 2 damage in. And now, yep, we always want to get our keeper out. We've still got first strike on board. If he attacks with the Slayer of the Wicked, I'm going to be perfectly fine with blocking with my first striker and Geist Flaming to get rid of that guy. Now I know he's probably going to come back thanks to the Sleuth, and I don't like that because that means my keeper's going to go. But you can't. You got to let your opponent play those things. I mean, unless it's going to completely end your game, you've got to let your opponent play out his hand, because if the opponent plays out his hand on his own terms, then he's always going to be ahead of you and he's always going to win. But if you sort of force him into playing the way you want and the way you expect, then you're going to end up winning the game ideally here. So the Travel Preparations has made these two guys formidable things to really be afraid of. This is the point where I'm looking at Corpse Lunge and going, I need to get rid of one of these guys. I know he has the Sleuth. I know he's probably getting Slayer of the Wicked back. I've said that at least twice now. But if I'm taking 5 damage from this thing, it could get bad very quickly. I think one of the mistakes that he makes, or may have already made, has to do with not having proper stops placed. That may have already happened. Always, especially when you're doing a competition, it's not a bad idea, especially if you're reinstalling Magic Online after a long hiatus. You really should make sure that you check your stops, that you've got all of your opportunities for playing instant tricks available, because one time when you have something really awesome is going to be the time when you don't even have a stop and you don't even have the option to actually play some sort of really board-changing removal or combat trick, and then really kind of facepalm yourself for losing in a really bad, stupid way. So now is a great time for a little Corpse Lunge action, but do I do it yet? Corpse Lunge is an instant. So really, to get the best potential out of this, you really should cast it whenever the opponent is flying at your face. So here I'm going to put Grimace on there. This represents to the opponent that my plan right now is to just block him and avoid damage that way. What's he going to respond with? Feeling of Dread. He's going to tap my 2 guys out. Now, that's a good play for him, I think, because it basically nullifies what I just did. This says I want to be able to block, and now he says, well, you're not going to, and I've got 8 damage coming your way unless you do something about it. So this really, in a way, this forces my hand, but there's no way he knows I have Corpse Lunge, and Corpse Lunge is actually something he doesn't want me to play at this point, or he shouldn't. But here we go. We got 5 damage to this guy. The only thing we're afraid of right now is him giving it +2/+2 in lifelink. If that was going to happen, I would block with a token. I'd still kill the Slayer of the Wicked. He'd gain quite a bit of life, which would suck, but it's still solid. I don't actually really lose anything in that exchange. He gains some life, and that would be good for him, but he's giving up a card that would potentially win him the game. And of course, here it is. He's got the Sleuth. He's getting back Slayer of the Wicked because he has no other creatures in his graveyard. And now he has a means to kill my Bloodline Keeper, which sucks for me. I know I'm not going to get to the point that I need to get to with that, but I'm still not not yet losing this game. I'm going to give him a potential other target now. This 5/5 is going to be at least something that he might consider getting rid of. And then I still think that my best play is to stay at home completely. But I think I went with I went with the I went in with the 2 vampires because I'm trying to win on the damage race here. This is going to force him to either block and I consider even attacking with the Bloodline Keeper because I know I'm going to lose it next turn from that Slayer of the Wicked. I believe this is lethal damage right here. Yeah, this is lethal damage, so he has to block. That's why I did this. I forced his play. He absolutely has to block that Woodland Sleuth. So that's killing one of his cards, and he's taking quite a bit of damage. So yeah, he's going to get to kill one of my vampires this next turn, but I still have enough guys to do lethal damage to him if that's the only thing that he does. And the other thing is, watch what I'm going to do here. He's going to target one of my vampires, and I'm going to be ready with Disciple of Giselbrand. So he's going to target. Obviously, he's either going to target, well, probably Bloodline Keeper is the best one to target. And then now I respond by activating Disciple of Giselbrand, and instead of just losing my guy, I get 3 life out of the deal. Which, if this game was was closer right now, I would run the real risk of being in trouble. Now he has Feeling of Dread. That's going to at least buy him another turn here if he uses it correctly. But this is the game state that I have Reaper from the Abyss for. If I draw a mana right now, I can play Reaper from the Abyss and sack anything to the Disciple of Giselbrand, guarantee that I can kill one of his dudes of my choice, and make that a lousy thing for him. But the other option that I have now is I can attack with the Flyer, and use Geist Flame to close the game out. So I've got a number of different options here. And I think the best thing I decided to just go ahead and do is attack with this vampire. It's 2 damage. It's going to happen no matter what. This is the point here. He didn't have a stop set up. If he had a stop set up, he could have played Feeling of Dread and tapped my attacker and probably tapped my big ground stalker, and prevented this damage here. But because he didn't have the stop, he couldn't play the spell, and here he's reacting. And I know exactly what's going wrong there, is that he didn't have the stop. So I'm going over how to do it so that I can tell him how. He's my friend. I want him not to have this happen again, especially in the matches that he's going to play. Because if he wins, we win. We've got extra packs between the two of us. We guarantee that we get to play other events together. So anyway, I can help him here, and a lot of times I'll do this with other players too. This game really does get better when your opponents are better. It's whenever they're babies that it's a real pain. And this seals it here. I know, or at least I imagine, there's not anything in this set that is instant life gain. There are counters, but I'm pretty sure that Geist Flame here is going to close out the game, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. There's no sense in waiting. Giving him a chance to top deck something else that could win. So we just go ahead and get it done. And that is our match. So short break here, and then